Now we've just had a look at Odin and his abilities. I think it's only apt that we have a look at Mangog and his abilities. So this will be in, and you'll probably see this in-game. The update should have gone live, I think. Should be in the App Store for you to pick up. If not, over on the forums you can check it out. But I'm just going to look over this, give some thoughts on this and my kind of feels. Now, the main thing with Mangog is it's meant to be like a huge champion in scale. Now, whether or not this will be in the same level to the likes of Sentinel and DragonMan, should be a little bit taller than DragonMan and probably around the same height as Sentinel. But it's going to be exciting to see like what this champion can do. Mechanics of this champion, as per Kabam saying, is many ways you play to obtain differently utility set. His core loop focuses around charging his heavy attack for as long as possible to deal massive bursts of energy damage. To be honest, I like simple champions. I also like the heavy attack rotation. Sometimes parry heavy just feels like it's just nice at times when you have to play tricky champions or overly complicated champions. For example, I like the way that Mordo stacks those Furies. Like you've got Magneto with the heavy attack spam and various other champions as well. It's just nice. At times you just want it like an easy rotation. During a fight, Mangog builds a resource called Hatred, which can be used in various ways such as stunning the opponent for long periods of time. Ooh, I like that. That's really handy against stun vulnerability. Shout out to 7.1, Act 7.1, which has that, and a few other types of variants, I think, has got it. Allowing him the opportunity to charge his heavy attack, inflicting a ton of stagger debuffs, inflicting armor breaks, building fury buffs, ooh, triggering additional immunities and much more. Offers a variety of gameplay possibilities. Right, let's have a look into this. Okay, Mangog actually sounds to be quite good as well. For those players that run Suicide Mastery, to have something that's of benefit of playing is good, because there's been at times a lot of buff changes have meant that if you run Suicides and you are at a limitation, so it's good to see that at least that's been done. And immunity switching is going to be something important, but also having that Mystic Telltale trait, which is all about dealing things like suppression of buffs, which it has stagger in part of his kit. It also looks like if you want to get more damage output from this champion, then you want to be struck while you're in Unstoppable in order to gain a Fury buff. So that's going to have to be something important if you want to ramp up damage. Something that's always active is immune to armor break, debuffs, and all bleed effects. Nice, nice, nice. It looks like Hatred is the thing about this champion from a point of gaining energy resistance, armor rating, and critical rating, which is cool. You gain more Hatred when nullifying a buff and also ending on a 5-hit combo, which was alluded to in the previous thing. So there is a lot of potential for this champion, especially for kind of like being more of a, it can take damage, but also seems like it can deal damage and have utility. It's weird to have a champion that ticks about 2 to 3 different types of narrative of play. So yeah, I mean, that's what Kabam was saying. It's kind of weird, but I hope it's not one of those jack of all trades but master of none type scenarios, because that we've had in previous times. And it looks like with those Hatred that you stack 10 Hatred, you turn it into an Enrage. And whilst Enraged, this is the point where you get Unstoppable. So if you allow yourself to get hit, you gain that Fury buff from it. So that's where that damage potential will be. So as the play breaks down, it seems like Kabam is saying that if you are looking to get some damage out of this champion, you should be aiming towards throwing heavy attacks, as heavy charging can be held for an extended duration and deals a burst of up to 13,085 energy damage based on charge time. So maybe you're going to look to do that, but also maybe it's good in the first instance to get hit, and whether or not that Fury will help the attack rating to help to kind of like ramp up that element, which is kind of alluded to a degree here. It says, especially while enraged, since you'll have an unstoppable buff as a safety net to pull off some risky plays, which that is what they were saying, is like if you've got the unstoppable up that you're getting hit into, you're getting a Fury buff, you then maximize that with being in a charging of a heavy attack for a long amount of time, and you're doing all that energy damage. It's a really cool way of playing, and you know, similar as I said to Magneto, which goes unstoppable as well, but also gives you an option for, is it can't stop, won't stop. It's one of the nodes where it requires you to be in an unstoppable buff kind of phase, so to speak, that you're then able to do damage to the enemy. And so that's going to be massive for that interaction if you're doing anything with Act 7. I think it's in Act 7. Definitely know it's in a recent variant, so that's something to at least have a champion option for this. And as well, being a hashtag villain, this is great. This is a great champion for that particular content. Definitely something I'm going to test out when I get to review this champion later this week, I want to say. But also kind of goes a little bit further by adding in an armor break and as well adding means to get more power rate, because that's going to be important for this champion with throwing special attacks, especially if you want to maximize some damage. But where does the utility, where does immunities factor into? And that's important when it comes to SP1. The SP1 has a shock, and incinerate, and cold snap immunity potential if you are enraged and throwing it. This could present some issues if players are taking Human Torch into fights with this month, and I am personally going to do that, but I'm going to have to box clever when it comes to incinerate, and as well maybe kind of opt for the way that the champion uses Nova Flame in the pre-fight as opposed to anything else. But we'll see in the testing out when it comes to Wednesday and the content is released. So yes, that's the SP1. And the SP2 itself looks like it deals with power control, which I think is pretty cool. I like having a champion that's able to do that. It is just not weird, but it's like there's a lot of this champion that meets the eye, and especially from a utility factor. Immunities, power control, but Command do say, and they say it's best to take the enemy champion when it's just apart, like just close to that full 1 bar of power, and taking it, and then it's saying that from the opponent and leave them with nothing. While enraged, this is a great moment to start charging that heavy attack, since Mangog will be unstoppable and the opponent will have no power to retaliate with. So yeah, I mean that worked out pretty well, and it will definitely be something I'll be looking into when reviewing this champion. But as well, stun debuff, nice, that's always great. And where this situation with Mangog and like how fun he is and how he can be utilized, man, look at this. Nullify up to 10 buffs from the opponent, gain a non-stacking regeneration buff, dealing X amount, it will probably change on rarity. This is increased by additional base health for each buff that was nullified from this attack. Man, that is great. That's really, really fun, especially if you're going up against champions like Odin or anything that kind of gathers a huge amount of buffs. I'm just trying to think of several nodes, like the ones where if they get 10 fury effects and then fury buffs and then go into unstoppable, not unstoppable, unblockable. I can't remember what the node is for that, but there's something else in Act 7.2 that was on the beta. So that's something as well. There's lots of interactions where that could be really applicable. Pretty exciting stuff. Pretty good champion team so far. And then you inflict the stun if you're in enrage, which is nice. It means you can capitalize damage as soon as you come out, smash straight in. Let's move on to the signature ability. This is where this champion can really stack damage. A 200 signature version, whether it's a 5-star, 6-star, is going to be able to damage output a lot more. I'm a bit worried whether or not the base level of this champion will hit relatively well, but the signature ability gives an increased top end of damage, especially if we're looking at like you're gaining hatred. You gain that 10 hatred, you keep it on, you're able to do damage. Yeah, you convert that into enrage, but that time before you go enraged, you're building damage, critical damage as well, and as well you're regenerating. That's the thing, it's like there's so much on offer with this signature ability that's actually really good. But also the worrying side of things is, yes, and I forgot the narrative, that whilst you're charging that heavy attack and as well you're unstoppable for that length of time, then you're really going to have to think about you are needing to restore your health whilst that's happening, which is going to be a big issue, especially for this. So a 200 signature version is going to be better whilst you're charging that heavy attack that you're not withstanding damage. So a lot of the times you might be kind of thrusting around to your SP3 to regenerate back. This gives you an option that's different, but it's still a lot of risk for a high reward, I hope, with the playing style of this champion. And this is really the thing about pairing up champions, and like I'm going to go straight to the bottom right one because it's important when it comes to like, and this is the thing. Odin, and I'm still kind of like on the fence with like how Odin's going to come across. But right here when it says when dealing bursts of direct damage using the SP2 attack, the damage threshold for each burst is increased by 150% of Odin's base attack rating. Which, even though Odin's base attack rating isn't actually huge, it's not a huge number, especially compared with other champions, it's still a case of going like, right, well if that adds something to it, then at least if you're taking Mangog and Odin as a team in, You've got something that's able to generate buffs and a lot of damage, but as well on the other hand, you've got a champion that's able to interact with having the unstoppable buff, nullifying, well, staggering, nullifying and staggering, and as well doing some other immunities. So you've got utility, or damage meets utility and utility damage. It's got kind of like a good two champions there to work with one another. And especially, you know, when kind of like having certain teams together, which there's even like an Avengers synergy, which is they start the fight with indefinite passive fury, granted 10% attack. Like, weird in any case. But as well, like there's an improvement to burst of energy damage equal to 6% of the modified attack. So there could be some other things as well. Either way, it does look pretty fun, and as well, what Mangog does with being with Odin is kind of important. There's a few other different synergies, but I just feel that these are kind of the most important ones. But I like this one here, become immune to Nullify. Each time Nullify is prevented, gain a non-stacking precision buff. Man, that's nice. It's nice when having those kind of like utility meets damage and buffs. I just talked about a moment ago. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited by both champions, especially after a very weak month of February. Can we trust what Kabam are putting together? I don't know. It's just one of these cases like, let's take them out, let's test them out, let's see what damage they can do, and fingers crossed, all is going to be well and all is going to be good. But yeah, loads of videos to come out about these champions. I'm preparing some ideas right now for the testing. And yeah, these videos, these champion tests, going to be very, very important, but they look good enough. But what's been your favourite? Put it down in the comment section down below. Is it Odin? Is it Mangog? Let me know. And yeah, make sure to check out some other content located up there. I'll see you later on. If the update is out, then I'll probably do a Civil Warrior video and some other ones as well. But also see you in the live stream later on. We'll be tackling 6.3.3. Bye-bye.